Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and hope everybody's having a good day, and really appreciate y'all swinging by the channel to watch today's video. It's that time of month. We're going to be talking about 5 lures that you never want to go bass fishing in the month of May without. And the cool thing about these baits I'm going to talk about today is they work all over the country. I don't care what lake you fish. These are going to be 5 baits you're going to be able to catch some good fish on. And I'm going to sort of talk about each bait and talk about the specific conditions that it works the best in today's episode. Also, guys, wanted to thank you, everybody that's taken time to hit that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate that. We've had some really good channel growth here recently. And also, I'd like to invite everybody to please swing by and check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. We got our summer maps on the site now. These are great resources to learn more about your favorite lake or a lake you've never been onto. Download all this info straight into your GPS unit. So I'll put my Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link in the description of the video if you guys want to check those out. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about May bass fishing, May lures. In my opinion, the 3 best months of the year to fish are March, April, and May. After May, things start to get a little bit tough. It starts to get warmer, starts to get summertime. Fish do a lot of different things, but in the month of May, you still have a lot of shallow bass that are very catchable. And the techniques that I'm going to talk about today are geared specifically towards those shallower water bass. Now, the thing about fishing in May, one of the things if you're fishing a man-made impoundment is that you have a lot of water fluctuation in May. May is the time of year where normally if you do have high water, like where you have flooded cover, it usually comes in April or May, sometimes early June, but it's pretty common around my part of the country. We have a lot of high water in May, so some of these techniques are going to be geared for that as well. Okay, let's go over each one of these and sort of explain to you how I like to use them and when I like to use them. Now, the first one is one of the best all-around May lures ever. It's just a swim jig. This is that Megabass Uoze swimmer swim jig. I got a little Megabass spark shad on the back of it. And also, guys, I'll link each one of these lures in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video if you guys would like to pick some up there. Using that link's a good way to support the channel here. But I like a small shad-colored swim jig in the month of May because May is the month that most of the shad spawn. And a small swim jig, this is a 3/16 ounce here. It's only about 2.5 inches long, 3 inches long. Just a really good bait to catch them in May. And some of my favorite areas to fish this around, any type of shallow water cover. Flatter banks, doesn't matter if you have docks or lay down trees or grass beds or lily pads, just throw this thing around there, throw it out there, keep your rod tip high, try to keep the bait just in sight or barely out of sight. I normally like to fish it about that far into the water. And I like to key on water visibility, sort of like between 6 inches to maybe 2 feet is ideal for the swim jig. And also those shad will spawn a lot on the corners of boat docks and on riprap banks. So throwing this little swim jig alongside of a shady boat dock and a shady riprap bank early in the morning, really, really good way to catch them. Most of the time I'm fishing it like on 15-pound test Seagarn Vizex with a 7-foot medium heavy bait cast rod. Okay, the next one is sort of in that same line. May is one of the best months of the year for floating worm. Just any type of a floating worm, guys. This is the Zoom trick worm I use here. This is a bubble gum. I use a lot of different colors depending upon the water visibility and the light intensity, but bass love a floating worm in the month of May. And the way that I rig it is I take a little barrel swivel here, put a little barrel swivel about 1 foot above your worm there, straight shank Gamakatsu G Finesse 1/0 worm hook, just with an open exposed like that. And just same thing as with the swim jig. Fish it in and around any shallow cover. Thing about a floating worm is you don't have to have cover with it. You can just go down bare banks. And the areas that I like to fish, all the stuff we're talking about here, are the same type of areas that the bass have spawned in. Now, the bass may not be spawning anymore, but they stay in those type of areas. They stay in those flatter spawning bays and spawning coves much through the month of May, unless you're in like a TVA lake where they move to the ledges real quick. But most man-made impoundments, you'll have these bass hanging around, feeding on shad, feeding on perch throughout the whole month of May. And that's why that floating worm and that swim jig work really, really good. Okay, the next one is one of my favorite times to fish a jig, guys, is in the month of May. This is my Blaukat throwback jig. I've been talking about this color, guys. This has been my favorite color. This green with chartreuse with a green chunk on it here, a Zoom super chunk on it. Like I said, I'll put this Tackle Warehouse link in the description for my throwback jig. But May is a great month to fish jigs. Now, to me, you have a little bit of a lull in the month of April for jig fishing. March is good for it, and then they start biting it again in May. So if I've got flooded cover to fish, flooded bushes, flooded trees, flooded grass, you can't beat a jig, just a pitching and flipping jig, as well as around any shallow cover, wood, laydowns, grass, docks, whatever you have available. They like a jig after they get done spawning. These fish are, they've exerted a tremendous amount of energy, both the male and female bass spawning. And a lot of times they like a little bit bigger bait in terms of a jig. And I catch a lot of good fish in the month of May at it. In fact, some of the best flipping days I've ever had in my life have come in the month of May on a jig. For the past 40 years, there's just something about it. They bite it really good. And it seems like once you get into June, they get more on soft plastics, but they really like a jig in the month of May. Okay, the next one, guys, this is rapidly becoming one of my favorite May lures over the last couple of years. This is Megabass Sleeper Gill. This is a little bluegill imitator here. You guys have heard me talk about all these baits before in the past, but another really, really good May lure. Now, guys, I'm gonna give you guys a little piece of advice here that you've got to try. Take this sleeper gill and put it on like a 7-foot medium heavy bait cast rod with like 15 to 17 pound test fluorocarbon, and skip this sucker around boat docks. Like if you've got piling docks, skip it underneath that dock. If you've got floating docks, skip it underneath that walkway. Keep that rod tip high and keep this little swim bait coming just under the surface like that. Those bass are feeding on bluegills a lot in the month of May. And guys, when they see this thing coming by a boat dock, especially around the shallow part of the boat dock, they will freaking annihilate this thing. Again, I got that in my Tackle Warehouse link. You can check those out. And one of the things about it is, like, if you've ever been around boat docks much and walked on a boat dock, especially like a larger commercial dock, there's bluegills all over them, because those bluegills, there's a lot of minnows and stuff that get attracted to the algae that grows on those docks, and the bluegills come and feed on those minnows. And there's a lot of bluegills this size around docks. Deadly, deadly technique in the month of May. Okay, now finally, you can't go fishing in May, guys, without everybody's favorite, the Megabass Magdraft. Megabass Magdraft is May is probably the best month to it, closely followed by April. Depends on the weather patterns. April and May are absolutely the best, but after those bass spawn, just like anything else in the month of May, guys, they will hammer this freaking Magdraft into the right conditions. Now, the difference between the Magdraft bite and the others I'm talking about is I like to fish the Magdraft in May on those little bit more advanced pre or post spawn areas. So my favorite place to fish a Magdraft during the month of May are on any type of point, main lake or secondary points, if you have the right conditions. If you have points on your lake, rocky points, clay points, gravel points, whatever, and you have water visibility of over 3 feet in those lakes, if you get a day where it's cloudy and rainy or cloudy with some wind on it, you take this Megabass Magdraft and you throw it around those secondary and main lake points and see what happens. They will hammer this thing on those type of areas. So that's my favorite way to fish it. And also I catch some fish parallel and steep banks and rocky banks with the Magdraft as well. So anyway, guys, that's my 5 favorite baits for the month of May. I think you guys will really like them. Again, I got them all linked to my Tackle Warehouse link. Check them out and we'll check in later.